You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with columnist Carole Malone and political editor of the Liverpool Echo, Liam Thorp. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what's on some of those front pages now. After today's announcement in the Commons, the Eyes headline is every home to get £400 cut in energy bills. As the Metro puts it, Rishi to the rescue at last. The Express reads Rishi's £1,200 boost for £8 million. And the Telegraph leads with Mr Sunak's claim that the Tories are now a party of big spending and generosity. Similarly, the Mail calls the plan a splurge. But The Guardian says Mr Sunak finally bowed to months of pressure over the cost of living crisis, finally announcing a package of support during a bruising week for the government. The Times says the Tories are split on the tax and spending bonanza. While the Financial Times says North Sea oil and gas operators think the windfall tax is a multi-year assault on their profits that will drive away investors and cut production. And a reminder that by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers while you watch us. And we are joined tonight by columnist Carole Malone and the political editor of the Liverpool Echo, Liam Thorp. Welcome to you both. Let's start with the Eye front page. Every home to get that £400 cut in energy bills. Carole, let's start with you. Good news all round?
Oh God, yeah, I think it's great. It's a much more generous package than we originally thought. This means that 28 million people in England, Scotland and Wales are going to get this 400 quid. And it means that it's like 8 million people are going to get £650, which is going to be of an enormous help to people. I think there was a real panic this week. As you know, we're hearing that the energy cap is going to go to £2,800. So I think this is great news. I'm watching social media and I'm listening to the left, and a lot of people are saying it isn't enough, but I think it's an enormous amount at this time. There are lots of accusations about Rishi splurging this money. That's effectively another budget, but he didn't have a lot of choice. The left are complaining that he's stolen their idea, but it's not an original idea. It was Maggie Thatcher did it, as did Gordon Brown. So it's not an original thing to do. But of course, there are worries about this windfall tax. It depends what it means for us. They're saying it's going to affect their profits, which is true. It is. But, in the first quarter of this year, I think it was Shell made 9.3 billion and Exxon made 8.3 billion in the first 3 months. And that's threefold what they normally make. And I'm glad we're taking some of that from them. But I think people must be aware what it might mean for us, in the sense that it's likely to affect pensions, because the big oil companies might cut or completely slash their dividends, which that would affect pensioners, and it will also affect savers. It's not a free ride. It's not just punishing the energy companies. It may well affect us as well. So the package is good, but the windfall tax, who knows yet how that's going to work out.
Liam, do you agree with Carole that it is good news, this £15 billion to ease the cost of living crisis? We'll look at the Metro, and they're claiming that Rishi Sunak has come to the rescue at last.
Yeah, I would sort of emphasise the at last bit, because it's taken him long enough. I think it was about 5 months ago that Labour were first proposing the windfall tax, and obviously the Liberal Democrats were fully behind it as well. Yes, I think broadly it's good news. I think it's, as Carole says, it's more than I think we were expecting. In fact, I think it's a little bit of a problem for Labour now, because the overall package, it kind of dwarfs what they were proposing. They were looking at raising about £2 billion. So they've now got to go back and think what they're going to do to make themselves look like they're more on the side of hard-pressed people than the Tories, which is an interesting position to be in. I think the most important thing here is that it is broadly going to the people who are in the most difficult positions, and that's something that many people have been calling for a long time. That money is going out from these big companies that are making incredible, unbelievable amounts of money that they don't know what to do with, frankly, and it is being more targeted with this package towards people with disabilities, people on the lowest incomes and pensioners. And that's exactly right. That's what should be happening. It's not perfect, of course, and there are some issues. For example, that there is a strong argument to say that the kind of blunt instrument of giving everybody 400 quid doesn't quite work, especially when we find out that it does. It means that 400 for each house. So if you've got multiple homes, you get that amount for each house. I think Mr. Sunak has already said that he's going to have to donate some back to charity because of how many homes he's got. But overall, I would say it's an important package from the Chancellor, and it was badly needed. Obviously, it has taken some time to get to this point, and yes, I would argue that it is taking Labour's idea, but it has then taken it on a bit as well. So I wasn't expecting this much, so I think it's broadly good news. Yeah.
Yeah. A windfall tax by any other name, though, that wasn't mentioned at all. It's the Temporary Targeted Energy Profits Levy, that catchy name, Carole. Let's look at the Guardian, talking about the 15 billion package that has been unveiled. We read that the Institute for Fiscal Studies, they're describing it as a genuinely big package of support.
Yeah, I think it was Paul Johnson today who said, his quote was, "It's a big, expensive package for Sunak." And he said, in conjunction with tax rises already in place, it's hugely redistributive. From the high, what he's saying is it's taking from the high earners to give to the poor earners. He was vaguely critical about Rishi not cutting taxes, but he thinks that the package broadly is the right thing to do. So, I mean, it's a thumbs up from there. It's a thumbs up from most people. You know, as Liam said, this was very badly needed. It probably took longer than it should have. But, you know, it's here now. And it kind of, you know, when I hear the left sniping today, when I hear people like Rachel Reeves in the Commons sniping today, saying he pinched her idea. Well, you know, Rachel Reeves does not invent the idea of a windfall tax. I'm sorry. Many more I was going to say more important people than her have done it before. But anyway, it's silly of Labour to snipe, because as Liam says, they are now going to have to work harder to be the party who looks after the working classes. So, but it just makes them look a bit silly now to attack it in this way.
Liam, very quickly, Carole saying that everybody's happy all round, but not the energy groups, as we read in the Financial Times. No,
well, obviously not. They're not happy enough with the money that they were making. They're describing it. Some of the North Sea oil and gas giants are describing it as a multi-year tax, and their argument is I just don't agree with it at all. That it's going to stop investment. I think they know there's still an awful lot of money that they're going to be making and their shareholders are going to be making from people. But for too long, and certainly in more recent times, hard-pressed people have been the ones paying for this, and we've been, and they have no choice. People have no choice but to try and heat their homes, to try and use energy. And these guys have been making enormous profits. So something had to be done. Now, I'm personally in favour of nationalising the energy companies, but this is something to start with anyway.
Liam and Carole must leave it there. We're going to take a break, and coming up, the Daily Telegraph references Chancellor Rishi Sunak saying the Conservatives are now the party of big spending. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, columnist Carole Malone and the political editor of the Liverpool Echo, Liam Thorp. To you, first off, in this section, Carole, let's have a look at the Daily Telegraph and their story there that the Conservatives are now boasting of being the party of big spending, according to Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying the Telegraph is quoting the figure of 21 billion as a package of support. And also, Sunak is vowed to increase universal credit next year and state pensions. And that's in line with inflation, which could possibly cost another £15 billion. So, yes, they are the party of big spending now. And it's interesting that a lot of Tories are furious with them today, because they're saying that the way to stimulate growth is to cut taxes, and yet he seems dead set against that, and has done, from the off. He does not want to. He's increasing taxes, which is what the Institute of Fiscal Studies accused him of today. Although Sunak said yesterday he was actually cutting taxes, he clearly isn't. But yes, I mean, it is becoming the party of big spending, and it's going to be a problem for Labour on how to hit them in this. So, yeah.
Just because of time, we want to move on to another story, Liam, and this is being covered in the Metro. One of our reporters, Mark Stone, cornered Ted Cruz over the most recent shootings in America, school shootings in America, and he got a very surprising response.
Yeah, first of all, I just wanted to give maximum credit to Mark Stone for the way he approached this. He sort of lured Ted Cruz in with a sort of soft start to the interview, naturally paying tribute to what's happened, and then he cornered him on this very key question, which Ted Cruz just cannot answer, which is why is this happening in America and it's not happening in other countries? And the reason for that is because of the Republican Party blocking basic background checks on basic gun controls, and they have done that. It was 10 years ago, and
afraid we have actually run out of time. Thank you so much.